Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In this week's video, I wanted to go ahead and review the month of May for my 2500 challenge. So basically I'm going to be showing you the drawings that I did, how many heads I managed to complete within the month, and some of the things that I learned along the way. So I have all of my pictures here from my sketchbook, and we're just going to kind of run through them. And I'll draw on top of them to kind of illustrate some points, some things that I've learned. But anyway, let's just, I guess, dive right into it. So starting at the beginning of May, I quickly drew 4 heads. Obviously they're, you can tell they're all numbered. I think one thing you'll notice as we go through the month is that when I draw faces at the beginning, they tend to be really small and I can usually fit a lot on one page, but as we move along, the faces are actually going to get bigger, which allows, I guess, for a little more detail. And that's honestly something I didn't think was going to happen. It just sort of naturally evolved that way, I guess. So it's been a while since I've drawn all of these, and just real quick, it does skip from 4 all the way to, I think, 10, and that's because I have 6 through 9 on, on this file. This is the file that I've been using for doing some of those, they're not really live streams, but they're just me sort of doing one, long video of me drawing. Essentially, I was going to be recording every single day. That completely didn't happen, but just in case if you're wondering why it skips, that's why. And like I said, it's been a while since I first drew these, so I don't really remember too many details about everything. I think it was just pretty much a struggle of trying to capture sort of the likeness of the photos that I was using, which, by the way, I always forgot to say in my other videos that if you ever want to draw along with me, or if you ever kind of want to do the challenge with me, I do have a Pinterest board with all of the pictures that I'm using, all of the references. During some of my longer videos, I do share the references with you guys, so you know that they're there, but I just never said that I had a whole Pinterest board, sort of dedicated toward this challenge. So if you guys want to check it out, I'll leave it in the description below. But just so you guys know. So anyway, we're just going to be moving on. One thing I wanted to do was really try and break away from my style a little bit. I think it's kind of, it's important to maybe try new things, even if you feel like the way that you're drawing now is kind of what you want to be doing, but it just never hurts to experiment. That's kind of what I did with this guy right here. I mean, it's not all too different from how I normally draw, but you can see that I gave him like a bottom eyelid, and I've talked about this, many times. I'm sure if you've been keeping up with the videos, you've heard me talk about it, but, normally I don't draw the bottom eyelid. I just don't like it. I don't know. I just don't like drawing it for whatever reason. I just like the way it looks, when it's just like this. I feel like it's my personal preference, I guess. But I do feel like because I choose not to draw the bottom eyelid, I lose a lot of expression. Again, I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to go too much into it. Let me just undo all that. So it's just really a matter of, trying to see if I can bring back some of that expression a little bit. I mean, honestly, this probably wasn't like the best reference to do that with, considering it's a 3/4 view and he's just sort of smiling. So there's really not much expression there, but eventually you will see that I do kind of figure out a solution for this. There's honestly not too much to talk about here. It's still pretty rough. I think I'm still sort of trying to figure out the challenge and trying to get back in the groove of drawing every single day. And here on this page, I think is sort of where I had my sort of first little breakthrough. Just with, not only do I feel like the drawings themselves are, really good, and sort of, capture capture, I don't know, a feeling for each sort of little character, if you will. But I think what I ended up discovering was that again, with this eye thing, what I ended up doing for this guy here is, if you can see, I actually added this little like line underneath the eye. So I'm not directly connecting it, but I am showing that there is, there is a bottom eyelid, and I actually feel like this kind of helped out a lot. I never thought that one little line could be, so effective as to sort of illustrate something, I guess, sort of give the idea of something, which is kind of funny to say considering I draw all the time. But, like I said, we're normally sort of set in our ways with how we draw, and sometimes we don't deviate away from what we do and experiment. But because I chose to do this challenge and sort of try to better myself as an artist, I am really happy with the fact that I did, sort of discover this little, I don't know, trick line thingy. I don't know. It's not really a trick, but anyway, so you'll see I'll start to sort of incorporate that into my drawings here and there, or actually more or less in all of them, because it really sort of helped solve the problem that I was having as far as trying to get the characters to express certain emotions and feelings. But anyway, just as this page as a whole, I just was really proud of. I think they all turned out, really well. I don't really care about the sort of sketchiness of it. I mean, that's sort of the whole point. I'm not trying to do full-blown illustrations. I think at the beginning of the challenge, I said that I was, really shooting for accuracy and trying to get them to look like, the people in the picture, which I feel like I'm doing, but there are times where I do look back at the references and I see that maybe they don't look quite like there's something a little bit different about my drawing versus the picture, which is fine. I mean, really, it's just more about trying to better understand the face and how it works, and just practicing, really. So I wasn't too harsh on myself there. Anyway, moving on. So this one's just kind of, same thing. I mean, there's not too much to say. Again, you can see here on this old woman that I put that little line underneath the eyes. I still feel like it's helping to illustrate that she's looking off to the side. Normally what I would end up doing here, before I had the line, was just sort of, do this, and instead of making the eye sort of cut off, I would just make it like a full circle. I don't know if that makes any sort of sense, but you can see here that because the line's there, it's not a complete circle. And I think the way I used to do it just didn't look quite right. But now, because I add this line, and sometimes I'll add it higher up and, kind of cut off the end or whatever. Oops, I'm like erasing the actual picture. Anyway, one other thing that I want to mention too, and I think this happened more so in the last page, this other sort of, air quote trick that I figured out. I have a tendency, and I think I talked about this in the first video I made on the 2500 challenge, but I had a tendency to draw the nose too low. Oops. Not counting this one. This one isn't too low. At least I feel like it isn't, compared to, the reference. But what I started to do was, you can probably see in the, beyond the drawing, that I have all of my guidelines and everything. So what I started to do was I would draw, like a circle, and then do, this sort of thing. You do your guidelines and everything. And how I would normally approach this is going directly into the eyes and doing, that, trying to block in the eyes and everything. And I found that by doing this and not sort of getting in some other features first, that eventually the face could look a little bit wonky. Again, this just goes back to habit. This is just how I've been drawing for a while. So in order to, break out of it, I kind of had to experiment a little bit. So what I started doing was, because my problem area was really sort of the nose and drawing it too low, I started to think about maybe just putting in the nose first. And I kind of noticed that in some with some angles, I don't think it's all angles, but generally with some angles, the nose, like where you draw your circle and where you draw this like center line, this intersection right here is kind of where the nose would be. And so I would usually get that in and draw the ball of the nose, and then using sort of like a V shape, here I'll draw it off to the side, but you know, you draw the ball of the nose, and then since she's sort of turned, I would draw this sort of V shape to sort of illustrate the bottom of the nose, and then you could go in and do the nostrils, you know, like that. And I felt like this sort of helped out a lot, and if you needed, you know, if you needed to, like, you can actually see the, like, the nostrils themselves, like the holes and everything. You can, you know, then erase and then go in, oops, and do that. You know, something like that, though. So I started putting in the nose first and then sort of working off of that. I think by having that sort of center point, which is the nose, I can then figure out how wide the face is and how high up the eyes are supposed to be. So I guess I can just erase that. So now by doing that, I feel like there's less room for error, at least, you know, with making the face looking wrong. So anyway, that's just something I wanted to share, because it's something that I do now, and going forward with the month of May and the rest of the heads. And again, you can see here, you can see where I drew a circle, and then there's this line, and then the nose was here. And then, like I said, since you know where the nose is, you can kind of judge the distance between the nose and the side of the face, and you can kind of block it in. And this is something I was also trying to work on too, is just blocking in the entire face first before you go into the features. It's still really difficult for me at times because I kind of want to jump into the face, like the center of the face, with drawing the eyes and everything. That's just what I'm sort of accustomed to, but like I said, I'm just trying to break away and you know, kind of develop my style / process of drawing, you know, even further. So anyway, that's just this page, and right now we're at, we're on May 8th, and, you know, I'm continuing the role of drawing every single day. And it looks like we're continuing with May 8th, at least for these two heads at the top. And I noticed that I was drawing a lot of younger people, a lot of, I guess, you know, models and everything. That's just sort of the references that are available on Pinterest. You know, usually they suggest, you know, models, people with like perfect faces and everything like that. But I thought it would be a good idea to, you know, draw different kinds of people. You know, I think you definitely need some variety in your practice, at least so things don't get stale. So here, again, you can see here, there's the circle, here's the line, I found the nose, and then you kind of work off that. This is a profile view. This one was actually a little bit harder, and I will say it was a little hard to draw, but it was actually kind of fun at the same time, because with this old man, he had a lot of, like, you know, skin right here, like this sort of saggy skin. I don't know, it was really weird, but kind of interesting to draw. And his nose was really just, you know, so far out. It was, old people are, they're kind of fun to draw. But honestly, there isn't really much to say there. You can probably tell, at least with this profile view, I really had to sort of map out a lot of guides as to where things go. I think I had drawn his ear like higher up, like up here at the beginning, and, you know, eventually I got where it was supposed to be. Here again, I'm trying to draw different ages. I'm not sure how old this kid was supposed to be. He looked like maybe around 12 or 13. So I just liked how young he looked. He looked very, like, you know, he's a kid, so there isn't a lot of harshness to his face, and he looked very sort of innocent and, I guess, playful in a way. He's supposed to be like, this is his hand, and he's like pulling on the sleeve of his sweater, so that's what's kind of going on there. I think if anything, maybe I could have rounded this off maybe a little bit more. just to sort of emphasize the youthfulness of the kid. But overall, I think it's okay. And I think this one here, this last one, was just a little bit, this one was kind of hard to convey the emotion a little bit, just because this man was supposed to be crying, so his face was really red and kind of puffy, and since I'm just, drawing in pencil, I didn't really know how to sort of convey that. I mean, there was a lot of really harsh shadows. You can kind of see I blocked some out, here and there. His nose was really red. There's all these shadows and everything. I tried to, get as much of it as I could, but ultimately, like I said, my goal isn't to make a complete illustration. It's just more so for practice. But it was a good study, I guess, for, shadows and contrast and stuff. I probably could have pushed the contrast a little bit more. Plus, when I took the photos, I think it kind of washed out some of the contrast a little bit, but it is what it is. And here, I will say, like right off the bat with this guy at the top, I think I kind of approached him in a really weird way as far as how I drew him. So you can see, again, that I do the circle, but I noticed because he was a bigger, character, rather than do this sort of thing, I actually just started mapping out his face. I think I started doing this. So he had a very prominent, like chin. I think I did, I think I went like down here, and I just kind of guessed like where his head would be. And that's how I did that. And then from there, I just, I think I went into the eyes, or maybe I did the nose first. I can't remember. But again, you can kind of see that the nose and the bottom of the circle intersect a little bit. And then I kind of did like a upside down V shape for the bottom of the nose, for the base of the nose, I guess, and then you can get in the nostrils. So this is what I'm talking about with the whole, nose thing. I mean, it's definitely helping out a lot. I feel like, I think I probably made him look a little bit bigger than what he was in the photo, but it's all right. Here and these other ones, there isn't really too much to say with these ones. This is just sort of a really blank expression. I'm not really sure what's going on with her eyes. I think I made one eye too small, so it looks like she's, I don't know, looks like she's sleepy or something, but I feel like you can definitely tell. Number one, the heads are getting bigger, so I'm only able to fit 4 on a page. And then number two, I feel like the sketchiness is getting slightly cleaner. Like it's still sketchy, don't get me wrong, but compared to, when you compare this page to the beginning and just how everything was sort of, I don't know, kind of messier, I guess. And then you have, I don't even know what page I'm on. Oh, here we go. And then you compare it to this, I feel like this one's definitely cleaner looking. Since this top one was, kind of boring, I went and did a really sort of dramatic expression. And again, you can see that I'm doing these lines at the bottom. I mean, even without them, I think it would be okay, because if you want someone to look really surprised, you can. This is sort of like the classic like anime thing, right? Where you just make the eyes. Anyway, like I was saying, this is sort of like the classic anime, thing where you make the eyes, or you make the pupils really small, so they looked even more surprised than what they already are. Anyway, but I just decided to add the lines just to see if it would work, and I feel like it does. But again, I think if I wanted to really push the expression even more, I probably shouldn't have put the line there. And then, let's see, we're on May 11th, which is what this guy started off May 11th, and not too much to say about him. Again, you can see the lines there. You can kind of slightly see that the bottom of the circle, there's the nose, all that fun stuff. And then here, I was actually really proud of these two at the top. if you can kind of recognize who this is actually Elise from Funhouse here on YouTube. If any of you guys know what Funhouse is, basically just a group of friends who play video games and stuff like that. They do a whole bunch of funny videos, but anyway, I was just really proud of how this turned out, just because at the beginning phase of drawing it, it looked nothing like her. And at the end, you know, I'm really proud that at the end, I feel like it does, you know, it does sort of capture Elise's beauty in a way. I know it's really cheesy, but I mean, I think she's really pretty, so I was really happy with that one. And then here I drew Aiden Zane from season 12 of Drag Race, I think it was. But with Aiden Zane, I really liked Aiden Zane's makeup and just sort of the character of Aiden Zane. So I actually drew her before I drew Trixie and Katya, just so I could kind of understand what it's like to draw a drag queen, just because it's a man dressing up as a woman. And I learned very quickly that it's not going to look like them until you add all the makeup. So I feel like I could have maybe done a little bit better. I think the lips, I think if anything, really what bothers me, or maybe not bothers me, but what I had trouble with really is just the lips and getting that sort of expression with the mouth right. But other than that, it's all right. You know, I'm okay with it. Let's see. So right now we're at May 12th, and this is 12 days of just drawing every day, practicing for an hour. And here, I just kind of want to point this out just because, you know, I know this is a challenge and everything, and I know I'm really trying to push myself, but on May 13th, I actually didn't draw that day. I didn't practice at all. I don't know. I think there's just kind of something good about showing, you know, when you mess up, showing whenever you kind of get off track a little bit. I don't know how to describe it, but, you know, as artists, I feel like we're really harsh on ourselves. You know, we're really critical most of the time. You know, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to kind of, you know, mistakes happen. It's just a part of life, whatever. We just have to, you know, get up and do better tomorrow, or do better whenever, you know what I mean? And this is going to be sort of a start of a little trend, unfortunately, where I do sort of miss some other days. I don't think I mentioned, but throughout this entire month, this is when I was in quarantine. I wasn't working at the time, so I kind of had, you know, the entire month of May to myself to do whatever and to practice my drawing and stuff like that. And I think at this point, what ended up happening was that I was just really kind of staying up late, and by the time it was time for me to draw and everything, I was just really tired, and my sleeping schedule was a little wacky. So anyway, you know, just something I wanted to sort of explain and just kind of put out there that, you know, I make mistakes too, and it's all good. You know, we just gotta move on. But anyway, on a lighter note, moving on to these other two drawings, I don't really think there's much to say. Again, I still feel like I'm getting better at, I feel like you can really see this sort of development of me drawing these faces. You know, they're getting cleaner, they're getting more, I guess, sort of expressive. I'm definitely moving towards my goal of what I wanted out of this challenge. Most definitely, at least I feel like. Anyway, this next page, let's see, so we were at 14, hang on, let me see. So this was on 14, so I did 3 heads, the 2 on the previous page, and then this was the 3rd one. Not much to say here. You can kind of see I just kind of scribbled, and I feel like it kind of gives it a pretty good energy with like how I did the clothes and the hair and everything like that. And then May 15th, I didn't draw anything. May 16th, we're back at it with drawing again. You can see I started also doing this thing. I talked about like outlining the face, you know, trying to outline the face before I go into the features. I actually tried to start outlining the hair as well, you know, just trying to make it into like one big shape. Especially with this guy's hair, because that's just kind of how I saw it. I think his hair was really dark anyway, and so all you could really make out was the shape. I think for this face I made her or for this head, I made her face a little too long, but other than that, I think it kind of turned out okay. This one's really nice. I do like the sort of line work of the outline of the face, the sort of profile. So that's on the 17th. And then here, this is where it gets a little iffy with not drawing. But May 17th, I think that was this face and then, or that head, and then this head right here. I really loved how she came out. And after that, I think I went back to work. I started working again. And so, so May 18th was our truck day at Hobby Lobby, and just a little bit of like information on that is usually whenever we have a truck day, it's sort of like it's usually going to be like a 9 to 12 hour day. It takes all day to do that. You know, by the time I get home and relax and everything, I'm honestly just really tired just because I'm on my feet all day. I'm usually there at like either 7 in the morning or 8 in the morning, you know, one of the two. So I'm literally there all day. So I didn't draw that day. That's on a Monday, and then I worked on a video, and then it looks like on May 20th, I actually finished my t-shirt palette for my t-shirt design test thing. It was for Redbubble, but I don't think I'm going to be using Redbubble anymore. I talk about it in my Trixie and Katya video if you want to know a little bit more information about that. Alright, so moving on. Since I hadn't drawn in 3 days, I feel like you can really tell with these two drawings. I tried to draw Fiona from Shameless. I don't think it really looks anything like her. I mean, it kind of does in a way, but you can definitely tell that, you know, where I was, you know, here, and then not drawing the 3 days and then ending up at this one, you can definitely see the difference, like what happens when you don't consistently practice. I feel like you definitely, you know, lose some of it. And to be fair as well, this was my first drawing of the day, so I mean, I'm kind of working against the odds here with not practicing for 3 days, plus it's my first drawing of the day, so I haven't even warmed up yet. I do feel like this one is a little bit better. I do kind of like how dramatic it looks. It's not, I guess, quote-unquote perfect as I wanted it to be. It's supposed to be Lydia from Beetlejuice, and there's sort of like this green glow around her face, so it kind of looks like she's wearing a mask a little bit. You can kind of see there. But there was a lot of dramatic lighting. The background was all black. You could just really see her face. I was kind of hoping to really get her likeness, but I don't think I quite capture that. But that's okay. So of course I draw the one day, and then I immediately go back into the habit of not drawing. It kind of, I think what's happening is I have to sort of readjust to, you know, working again, because I had been off for a month, and I was able, you know, to kind of work on my drawings whenever I could. But now that I'm trying to get back into the groove of working and drawing at the same time again, you know, at least simultaneously in a way, I think it was just kind of rough for me to get back in that groove. So I didn't draw. And then I put here that I was playing GTA because it was on sale. So that's all I did that day. And then again, didn't draw. And then we went back to, you know, Monday is our truck day. So there was no drawing that day, obviously, since it was like a 12-hour day. So I'm just, you know, I'm not doing as well right now as I would have liked. You know, I am proud of the fact that I got this far. And even though I am kind of having these little hiccups here and there, I say little, meanwhile I'm taking, you know, 4 days of not drawing. So I'm not doing as well as I would have wanted, but like I said before, we just gotta kind of move on from it rather than dwell on what we didn't do. Just move forward and just keep pushing towards what we're working towards, you know what I mean? So anyway, moving on. So after that, you know, really weird break I had, I still wanted to finish out the month strong. And even though I hadn't drawn in a while, I do feel like these drawings came out really well. Again, I feel like they're getting cleaner, tighter in a way, and in some ways. I wanted to try another profile view. Again, I really liked her nose, the shape of her nose, and again, I just wanted to practice drawing a profile. Anyway, here you can still see there's the circle, and I found the nose and everything like that. There really isn't too much to say. I do think these girls turned out really great. If anything, I think I made this one's face a little too long. But other than that, I mean, I'm really proud of how they came out. Alright, so for May 28th, I actually drew the Joker and some other random guy. I just kind of really liked his angry expression for the guy in the bottom right. But I had always wanted to draw the Joker, especially maybe like a scene from the movie Joker, just because I feel like the lighting and some of the framing in that movie is just really, beautiful. And I feel like you can learn a lot from it, really, as far as how lighting and shadows work. But anyway, so I sort of drew him in my style. I think he looks okay. I mean, he definitely looks like the Joker. But anyway, there isn't really too much to say about that one. As far as the guy in the bottom right, I, just really wanted to get that sort of seriousness in his face. Yeah, I think that's about it, honestly. Again, not too much to say. And then here in the little bottom left, on May 29th, I actually did draw, but I didn't draw specifically for the challenge. I worked on a commission for a friend, and then it looks like on May 30th, I ran some errands, and then I edited a previous week's video. So, that took up most of my day. Again, it's just a balancing act between the different things I have going on in my life, And then finally, at the very end, I kind of wanted to do something a little special. Well, actually, you know what, before that, because I think I skipped a few people, now that I realize it, but way back when, because I see we're at 54 and 55, just so you guys know, 50 and 51 were Trixie and Katya, and again, I drew these two, not in a live stream, but it is a longer video of me just sort of talking about different topics and everything like that. So if you want to go check that one out, it'll be in the description below and all that. To bring things back, kind of full circle in a way. So at the very beginning of this challenge, I talked about how I found this specific challenge through Jordan of Art Prof here on YouTube. And if you guys don't know what Art Prof is, I'll put a link to them in the iCard in the top right hand corner. That way you guys can go check out their channel. They have a whole bunch of free videos for artists on a whole bunch of different topics. But originally I wanted to draw Jordan, but I couldn't find really any pictures of him other than I probably could have just gone to his Instagram, but I didn't want to be that sort of creepy. I don't want to be that creep and go to his Instagram and all that stuff. So I opted to draw Professor Lou, who is sort of the main, I guess I would consider her sort of like the face of Art Prof. She's the main teacher that you see, the main instructor in most of the videos. She's awesome. She has such a great energy about her when it comes to art, a great sort of, I don't know. I just think she's a really good teacher. So anyway, I decided to draw Professor Lou, and again, not too much to say. I think it really does look like her a lot. I hope I captured, sort of her likeness and everything, and of course I had to, put a little Art Prof thing there. And then here in the bottom right hand corner, this is actually just the Mona Lisa. I thought it would just be kind of fun to draw a famous painting. And I didn't really realize this until afterwards, but they're sort of, these two photos are sort of the same in a way. Like they're kind of in the same position, same expression, more or less. So, I don't know. Maybe Professor Lou was like the Mona Lisa in her past life. Maybe that's why she's so passionate about art and everything. But yeah, you guys, so that's about it. That's what I did for the 2500 challenge for the month of May. That's how far I got. It looks like at the very end of the month, I managed to draw 55 heads. I'm not really sure if that's average or below average. It might be maybe a little bit below average, but you know, I'm just kind of working at my own pace with this. I know that I still have a long way to go when it comes to drawing heads. Alright, so it looks like I have 945 heads left to go. Not really sure when I'll get those done, but I was thinking that maybe for the month of June, I should actually just switch up what the topic is. So maybe rather than drawing heads, I draw maybe arms or legs or hands or feet. You know, I pick one of the other sort of prompts that you're supposed to draw. So I'm not really too sure what it is that I'll do then, but I'll figure it out as I go, I guess. So anyway, you guys, that's all I have for right now. I know we didn't really draw anything per se, you know, I didn't really come out with any sort of finished artwork. But anyway, I hope that this at least was sort of entertaining, you know, kind of seeing my progress throughout this entire challenge. It's a very daunting challenge, I will say. You know, trying to make time for it and everything is kind of hard. I'm still willing to go through with it, and, you know, however long it takes, that's how long, you know, it'll go for, I guess. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys! Thank you so much for watching. I post new art videos every other Wednesday, so consider subscribing to the channel by clicking my logo on the screen or the subscribe button down below. If you'd like to further support this channel and me, you can buy me a Ko-fi in the link below, and anyone who donates gets a shout out at the end of my videos. Thanks, guys!